Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. We wanted to talk in brief about the importance of holding firm during times of hardship. I had a reflection before, but I wanted to repeat the reflection with regard to an ayah of the Quran. إن يقنطوا من رحمة ربه إلا الضالون. Here in this ayah in the Quran, it talks about those who despair profoundly. It's like the ultimate form of despair. That characteristic of despairing at that level where it becomes so disorienting that it collapses the person so that they don't see a way out, and possibly it leads to other things like suicide and so on and so forth. That characteristic is not a characteristic of those who hold firm and believe in Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And we're not talking about wishful thinking, and we're not talking about delusional belief, but we're talking about a sense of hope and a sense of understanding that built into life are moments of hardship, and those moments of hardship are followed by ease. There's many situations that we can recall in which we've been in times of hardship, in which those times of hardship we go through them, we go through that fire, we go through that suffering, and then we find the way out. And so that the situation that we may find ourselves in now is not the situation that we found ourselves in before, right? And that's something that is very important to understand. And sometimes our situations call for us to take action minute by minute, second by second, half an hour by half an hour, hour by hour, until we find ourselves slowly progressing from one situation to another. But despair in and of itself is not going to help us to deal with the reality before us. And there's situations that we may find ourselves in of hardship and suffering that somehow or some way we have to navigate through. None of us likes to be put to that test, and we pray that we're not put to that test. But sometimes some of us reach a level of despair because of the train of thought that we're taking. It doesn't mean that our situations of hardship are not real, but sometimes the way that we're thinking about it, it complicates the situation for us and emotionally collapses us to a point where it becomes difficult to be able to even deal with the moment. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't go through your pain, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't go through your suffering and so on and so forth, right? That is important to understand. So at the end of the day, the situation that we confront, right now is that there is hardship which is compounded from multiple levels. And it's not easy to just, to sit and cry with someone. And it's not easy to just necessarily get help from people that you would normally get help from. But we have to go moment by moment. And even if we find ourselves crying, it's okay. That release is important, and we find ourselves turning to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. But this is one of those time periods in which everyone has to be clear with himself or herself and how you're going to deal with the weight of the situation. And sometimes some of what we are experiencing is because we don't want to take decisions that will change our situation. That's important, that we have to realize that there are situations that may call us to switch or change, and it may be uncomfortable. That's the reality. That everybody's going to have to adjust in one way or another. And that's what we're confronting right now. That people are going to have to adjust and have to learn how to live with each other, how to function with each other, how to cooperate with each other, how to, that's I think for some people that is probably a great percentage of the issues that they're confronting, is the changes that are going to be introduced into their lives. And, sometimes our only space will be that we retreat inside or we take a break outside, and then that's about the only amount of space that we have to be able to navigate, and we all have to deal with these situations. But some decisions are going to have to be made weighing harm and benefit. Like, what's more important? Keeping roofs over our head and food, or not necessarily working with other people? That's what some people will be in. Watching people just completely be undermined or sharing something with them. And hopefully, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, because we still are at a stage where we're not seeing the full ramifications of everything that is going on. And so, we're dealing with the unseen in that regard. We have projections, we have ideas, we have numbers that are being thrown out there, we have economic analyses, but those things that take place on the level of theory, we have to see how it works out in the level of the everyday. Right, and that's part of the issue that I was mentioning, that our thinking sometimes can take us to a place that's problematic. And we have to prepare for the worst, no doubt about that. But there's also another train of thought in which we take situations moment by moment and we so-called count our blessings. And I'm not downplaying anyone's suffering at all. I'm not downplaying anyone's bad situation, but we have to maintain a certain level of sanity. We have to maintain a certain level of sanity. There's things being circulated around, and it's hard to date whether it's from this time period or whether it's from the past, but we're seeing suicide stuff. We're seeing people, engage in criminality. We're seeing a number of different things, and we have to be careful what types of images that we see and how we generalize those images. Meaning that you may see an image of something or a video of something that's going on, that doesn't mean it's going on in every place. You know what I'm saying? You can't automatically assume that that's going on in every place. You may see a situation and it could be taking place in one locality, in one place, and it may not be taking place everywhere. There may be another situation, maybe similar to that in another place, but that doesn't mean that that's going on in every place. And so here, the magic of imagery, so to speak, can become extremely problematic. But one of the characteristics that we have to hold on to is that we can't allow profound despair to overtake us. Be sad if you need to be sad. Go through that moment of mourning. Do your crying. Do whatever you need to do. Even if you miss your prayers, combine your salah. Even if you're missing prayers, keep making an effort to make the prayers. If you find yourself not praying salah, make dua. If you find yourself not making dua, make a dhikr. Until you get to a point where you can manage. You know what I'm saying? Try to keep wudu. That way you reminding yourself about salah. And as time progresses, you ask Allah for things here and there. For some of us, we may have facility, or may be easy for us to make dua. For some of us, it may be difficult. For some of us, salah may be easy. For some of us, listening to an ayah of the Quran may be more easy than making salah. But in any event, you have to hold on to something. You have to hold on to something. And there's even psychological studies that show those who hold on to something in times of hardship and trial, that they fare better than those who hold on to nothing, right? And so while you're holding on to that something, then you slowly think, about what can you do to manage in your situation, and you build your network around you, and you try. You know what I'm saying? To put in your effort, and you try to work your network, and you make your dua and this, that. But, it's a time of trial and tribulation in that regard. But ultimately, at the end of the day, with hardship, there's ease as a principle. Even if you don't believe it to be a Quranic principle, which it is a principle which life itself proves it. And you yourself can look back at your own life and see that there's moments that where you were in hardship and then you were released. There's moments where you in hardship and then you're in ease. And so that's, part of life, so to speak. That's part of how life is built. It's a time period in which we have to count the ni'mah of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, or the blessings of God, and be thankful for the most minimal. Be thankful for the sun, for the moon, for the warmer weather. Be thankful for a plate of food. Just have a spirit of thankfulness. That in itself has a profound effect or impact on our mental health. And the other issue is smiling. The other issue is smiling, and I know what it's like not to smile, and I know what it's like to smile. Smile, that has a profound impact on our mental health. And be careful of how much negative information you ingest. And again, no one has complete knowledge of every affair, or they can't present complete knowledge of every affair except God in that regard. And so we're not working with the knowledge of God when we start talking about media or people's analysis. These are limited insights into what's going on. And so when it becomes overwhelmingly negative, it's like putting bad gas in your car. It becomes toxic and it disrupts your ability to function. So you have to be very, very careful about that. There's the issue also about sleeping, trying to make sure that you rest properly so that you can be able to take on the brunt. And there's the issue also about be careful what you eat. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that you're eating healthy foods, things that are going to help you sustain your own health, and be careful about stimulants like coffee and tea and this, that. If you're going to drink something like that, drink a little bit, drink it in the morning, but that disrupts your sleep patterns. It makes you more nervous. And, make sure that you have a little bit of space that you take for yourself. There's no one that's saying that in this time period of social distancing, that you can't take a walk or whatever. In many places you can still take a walk. In other words, you have to give everyone some space, especially relatives and so on and so forth, because everyone is cramped up. It's only natural that people begin to snap at each other and so on and so forth. But, again, it's not a quality of the believers to fall into deep, deep despair. The outcome of that is extremely, extremely problematic for yourself. It becomes a hole which is difficult to come out of, and is a symbol of being completely lost from the guidance that we get from Revelation, and is a reminder to myself and to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.